Thanks so much for joining me today. We are going to dive into the conversation in a moment. First, I wanted to remind you that the show notes and links mentioned on this podcast are on my website at lizacivicmarketing.com. That's Liza with a Z and Civic with an S. So, okay, let's get started. Hello, magicians. It's Liza back with you again. Today, I have Trevor Robinson of TLR Consulting Group, and we're going to talk about LinkedIn and how important that is now in the landscape of how we communicate online. And, is it a social media? Is it a way to find a job? Is it a way to find clients? And, there's a lot of misconceptions and a lot of information people just don't know. So I think this is a fantastic segment to do, and everyone should listen to it, especially people who are just getting out of school or getting back into the job market. I hear a lot of that from my own friends after the pandemic changes. So I'm very excited to talk to you today, Trevor. Hello, how are you?
Hello, I am doing well. I'm so excited to be here. And as you mentioned, there are a lot of misconceptions. So we have a lot to unpack today.
Yes, we'll do as much as we can today, right? We're going to save everybody from their misconceptions, the myths. I love to talk about myths and the magic, and then we'll give them the magic because, got to connect it with the podcast title, right? So I really love LinkedIn. Even I find it a little daunting. My husband got really, really good at it. Scott changed careers a few years back, like 10 years back now, and he just became, like a little expert. It became his thing because he had to learn it. He had to learn it to make connections in a whole new industry. So I've seen how valuable it is. And if we'd had someone like you to work with, then I think it would have helped us both a lot at that time. So this is a great subject. What's the first kind of big misconception you hear a lot from people if they think about LinkedIn that you have to educate them on?
So that's a great question. I hear a lot of it's a career site, it's for searching for jobs, or just simply, I don't know how to use it or what to do. Mm-hmm. That runs rampant. And I think I'll give you the quick 2-minute background of myself. And I think it'll maybe guide the discussion. That way people can understand why I'm so bullish on LinkedIn, and why I think that if anybody owns a business, they need to be on LinkedIn. If they have if they're a coach, consultant, service-based business, even somebody graduating college, we'll talk about why it's so important and why I frankly think it's the best social platform of all of them. And I can give reasons why. But I started my career actually in the corporate space, like many individuals, and I spent 10 years at the company, had a great time there. And I started though as a recruiter, and it was a manufacturing company. And I got thrown in right off the bat. My role was to come in and help the recruiting, but also help them leverage social media to build their employer brand and things of that nature. And this was 10 years ago or so. So it was very new at the time. And it's still very new today when you talk about those concepts. But I got thrown into the world of LinkedIn, and I was tasked with finding these individuals on LinkedIn that had unique skill sets, and I had to essentially find them. So I had to learn how to navigate the platform, and I learned about how the algorithms work, how the search features work. But more importantly, I learned how users actually use LinkedIn. And then my job was essentially to reach out to them. And in some cases, I was trying to get them to leave their job that they were gainfully employed in to come, accept a new role with our company that, we positioned as a better opportunity. But more importantly, I had to say, oh, by the way, you have to uproot your entire family and bring them across the country to this small little town that we're in. And so you learn a lot about psychology. You learn a lot about how different people in different industries actually use the platform. And so I was on the platform every single day. And around 2014, I noticed this transition where LinkedIn started to change, and it started shifting from a resume site to more of a, we'll call it like a personal branding site. It was where individuals started using LinkedIn's new features. And now today in its current state, LinkedIn has evolved entirely, and they have so many different segments and wings to the platform, where you still have the job wing, where individuals, they go out and they can find jobs, recruiters, seek out them. But now they also have all these other features where they're trying to use it as a professional network. So what a lot of individuals don't realize is that Microsoft came in, I think it was 2017, and they actually purchased LinkedIn for $26.2 billion. And to date, that's, I think, the largest social media acquisition. And since then, Microsoft has been doing a lot of amazing things in order to recoup that investment and make it a business to business platform now. And so now in the current state, it's like any other social media platform. They have live streaming capabilities. They have, the traditional news feed. They have LinkedIn articles, newsletters. They have more filters to find your ideal audience than you could ever even, sit down and sort through. And so it's really transformed over these last 10 years. And I think now we can get into this. There are some things in philosophy that really make it the go-to platform. And we can talk about how I think everybody can really grow their business, their career, et cetera, by using LinkedIn.
I would totally agree with what you're saying. Obviously, you are the expert here on LinkedIn, but I have seen that personal branding shift. I saw that, Microsoft was doing a lot with it. And, I'm hearing people say, well, I know we're supposed to go into Facebook groups and have communities and this and that, but a lot of people prefer to do it on LinkedIn if it's a business group and have people there where they can engage with, as you said, business to business. And there is a lot of great ways to drill down to get the people that you want. You talked about, reaching out to people for, hey, get up and move your whole life for this job. And that's a big thing. Recruiters are huge on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Everybody sees them. They're always looking for people that if they're not looking for you. And I get a lot of automatic emails. You've got Sales Navigator and the other things that go with that. I get a lot of emails from people who want to connect with me, but really they're hoping to sell me a service.
Yes.
And it's pretty transparent the way most people do it. They've been told to just say, hi, I want to be your friend, let's connect. And then it's immediately, by the way, I do accounting, or I do this, or I do that. And it's hard when you're marketing because we tend to see right through that. Not everyone does. And if it works, we should continue using that. But I'm not getting good vibes from people when they tell me that they get these all day long. Like, is there a better way to reach out to people with these apps than just, I'd like to connect, and then as soon as you connect, they solicit?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really happy that you brought this up. This is something I'm very passionate about. So yes, that is the unfortunate part about LinkedIn, but it's really about any platform, is that you are going to get a lot of people sending you unwanted, connections, messages, things like that, because at the end of the day, somebody taught them this. It might've worked years ago. They don't know better. It's not their fault. That's why I'm trying to correct that and teach people the correct ways to go about doing this. And when you start to think about LinkedIn, and even any platform this really applies, is that most people look at business as really three different segments. You have business to business, so B2B. Then you have business to consumer, which is your B2C. And then you have the consumer to consumer, the C2C. That would be you selling me something on Craigslist, for example, right? Neither of us are really a business. But I kind of liken that there is a fourth one. And no matter what, category you fall in there, at the end of the day, everybody is a human. So it should be human to human. That's the market that I think everybody is in. And it does not matter if you work for a company and you sell into another company, you're talking and working with another human on the other end. And those humans they have feelings, they have past experiences, there's all these things that humans naturally have. And so we tend to just segment it and treat people as a number. And a lot of LinkedIn information out there, whether it be LinkedIn courses or LinkedIn coaching, or whatever the case may be, some of the individuals don't actually use LinkedIn enough or actually understand what's actually transpiring, in the sense that everybody is teaching automation. Go out, just, run automation tools, go for the volume. You send 100 connection requests, 3 people are going to say, yeah, let's hop on a call. And I like to, challenge people to flip it on their head and put yourself in the shoes of, how you want to have business done working with you. So I'm in the same boat. I get hit up maybe 20 times a week, sometimes in a day on LinkedIn, and they're all the same basic thing. Hey, it would be great to have a virtual coffee with you. Hey, hop on. I do this service. Let's hop on a 15-minute chat. And so I now work under the golden rule and golden principle, which is every time I would say yes to any kind of meeting like that, that's time that I'm not getting back with my family, with my daughter, with my friends, doing the things that I love. And at the end of the day, that would be a full-time job if I said yes to all of these 15-minute coffee interviews and introductions and things like that. And so instead of this volume approach, the way I like to view LinkedIn is you have this platform where you literally have access to nearly anybody, and you have more information about those individuals than any other social platform. You have their job title, their experience, the recommendations. You can see featured content that they have. You can see who they're connected with. You can see, what they did at companies and their progression in their career. And you have all of these amazing talking points. And so while most people look at LinkedIn as, hey, just go out, connect with your ideal audience. And they say, hey, create this statement that really tells the people who you help. So it'll say, I help female entrepreneurs get 5 more booked calls without the stress and blah, 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 blah. And the reality is, and it's like you mentioned, is that we're humans on the other end. And the minute that we see somebody send us a connection request that has that headline or that title, immediately we look at it as, okay, this person's viewing me as a prospect. So most of the time now, we're so conditioned to this because the tactics ran their course. It worked for a short spurt of time. So I'm a big believer in doing things that stand the test of time and that nobody else can duplicate, which is actually authentic human-to-human relationship building. Yes. So I'm a big believer in, don't go on LinkedIn and position yourself as I help X, Y, Z. Don't use the I help statement. That's important to know who you help. But you need to position yourself as an expert on LinkedIn. That way, when you connect with individuals, they don't feel like they're a prospect. They feel like you're just somebody that can actually benefit from one another from being in their network. And then when they look and say, who is this person? They see that you're providing a lot of value. You're providing good thought leadership. And most importantly is they don't view you as a threat, but they view you as an asset, somebody that they want to have in their network. And so that's the fundamental thing that we need to shift when it comes to LinkedIn is how we show up. We need to show up as professionals, and we need to be a lot less needy. Everybody is needy. Everybody wants 15 minutes on your calendar. I don't have 15 minutes. I'm time poor. I'm time broke. I don't have time. So the key here is there's 2 things that everybody can do. First and foremost, you need to focus more on the quality and not the quantity. Okay, so I'll give you a few examples. Is if you are, let's just go 2 extremes. If you are let's just say you're in a service-based business, you're an attorney, right, or a realtor, you can really focus on connecting with individuals in your local area because you want to build thought leadership and expert status in that local region that you're in, right? Most people just go out and connect with anybody. But even in your own region, you want to find the individuals that you think could benefit you or help you in some capacity. And a great example of this is a term that I've coined, which I call leveraged authority, which essentially is if anyone wants to grow their business 10 or 20 times, you really have to leverage authority of others. So you and I right now, we are leveraging each other's authority. You're going to tap into my audience. I'm going to tap into your audience, right? And my audiences can probably benefit from services that you offer, and some of your audience could benefit from some of the services that I offer. And that's what leveraged authority is. It's this joint venture, strategic partnership. It's getting in front of new audiences at scale by building mutually beneficial relationships. And so if you're in real estate or a local attorney, LinkedIn, it's primarily built of professionals, and you can filter by other local business owners or individuals that have high status positions at companies. Or if you're a realtor, it might be beneficial for you to target and build some relationships, maybe with some high ups at companies or something, where if they bring on a lot of new employees, maybe you're the go-to realtor. Or, you can be a go-to, build a partnership as an attorney or something of that nature. And so you just be a little bit more strategic in your approach. And then when you connect with these individuals, you have an endless amount of talking points. And that's why individuals struggle with LinkedIn, is because unlike Facebook, LinkedIn gives you too much information and people freeze up because they actually have to think. And so you have to get in that the exercise. Yeah.
Remember when that was IBM's slogan?
Yeah. Yeah. And so it becomes this challenge. And the second thing that if you were like a coach, for example, you can start to look at, okay, well, who can I connect with that already has my audience? Instead of me going one by one, trying to, do the hunt and pray method, let me connect with other individuals or influencers in the space that have access to them, and let me work my way in that way. And I'll give you a great example is that we worked with somebody and they said, hey, LinkedIn's not going to work with me because I sell an app that is for coffee shop owners. And it's designed to help coffee shop owners, speed up the line and people can order on the app and it'll be ready. And so, they said these coffee shop owners just aren't on LinkedIn. And I said, okay, well, if they're not on LinkedIn, I guarantee you somebody is on LinkedIn that knows them or has access to them. So we started looking, okay, well, where do they buy their cups from? Who runs their point of sale system? Who's bringing the inventory for this or that? And you can quickly realize that other people have access to who you're trying to target, and you can work your way in that way. So it's really this mindset shift now, focusing on quality rather than this just quantity approach. And everybody still teaches the quantity. It's unfortunate. It won't go away for another year or two, probably, but we have to realize we're all humans. And if you're learning to take a volume approach, think of the thousands of other people that have done it before you. And I like to just think that I like to go with the approach of every single person I connect with or start a conversation with. I try to imagine personally that they've already been hit up 50 times that week. So because I have to put, they have. So I have to put more effort into it now.
So you brought up a lot of good points in there, and what you've said was fantastic. Thought leadership is important. Everybody throws that around. It's not just write a few blogs. It's what we're doing here. It's talking about articles. It's doing stories. It's showing people what you're doing. But there's a couple things I want to make sure I bring up and talk about. When you said the golden rule for you and your family and your time, we are time poor, especially as entrepreneurs and business owners. Time is the first thing we have the least of because we put it all into our business and our family. And if you asked me, talking about what you said, if you asked me for 4 15-minute calls in a day, that's, it's just 15 minutes. It's just 15 minutes. Well, 4 of those meetings is an hour of my 8-hour day, assuming I only work 8 hours. Yeah. An hour of my 8-hour day, which leaves me 7 hours left to market my own business, talk to my team, and actually serve my clients. So you better bring me something incredibly valuable in that 15-minute call for me to give you 15 minutes of my 8 hours. And so if someone's just saying, well, I'm going to want to connect with you and be part of your network, but all I want to do is send you a link to sell you something and not give you anything in return except what I promise I'll give you when you give me money, that's not enough anymore. It's not enough for a business owner to give you that 15 minutes. And I think the automation is great. I don't know if you agree. I like the idea of automation because it saves business owners time to get to the right people, but you have to give them something valuable. If you want those 3 calls back at the 100 emails that go out, you have to give them something valuable or it's a waste of money. I very much agree with you there. Human to human is perfect. I love that. I'm stealing that. Just letting you know now. I'll send you the royalties. But it's true. I think we've lost perspective with the internet and with, this is far before we did everything on Zoom because of COVID. It's, we got used to be able to talk to people without seeing their faces, or we think we're funny or we think we're clever, but someone else might not get the joke. And we've lost some of that perspective of what the other person sees and hears. And I think that's the rise of the emojis in business conversation, because people don't know how to interpret your tone. And we've lost a lot of that as a society. So what do you think of bots, when AI bots are going out sounding very human and talking to people about things? And, what's your stand on that? I don't have one. I'm just curious what you think because of what you do.
I think, it's certainly scary where it's heading, but I think if you look a couple layers deep, I think there's some problems with these bots, which is it's typically all comes back to they're operated by a human on some capacity. and they're learning at rapid speed and so forth. But I kind of liken it to, LinkedIn automation. Number one, it violates the terms and conditions. So they're cracking down hardcore. So most people are getting their accounts banned. It's not worth the risk. But beyond that, I see the value in it, right? I see the value of saving time as business owners and so forth. But the harsh reality is it's really hard to automate something and come across as genuine and authentic at scale. It's just hard to personalize at scale. And so I think the same thing with bots is that you're going to hit a certain point where they're going to be able to have these natural conversations, but it's going to get to a sticking point where there has to be a transition over to humans at some point. And if there's not a backlog of history, or when you talk to the human, there's going to be something in there that you don't know that the bot did or said, or because it's still programmed by a human. And it's just like the same reason that I know people on LinkedIn that use virtual assistants to do their outreach and things like that. My rule of thumb is nobody is me. Nobody should represent me, the brand, under my name. So I protect that at all costs. Now I have a business partner that she networks and we pass opportunities back and forth based on our calendar and expertise and things like that. But we're never letting other individuals represent us. And I think that's just I think people will sniff through it eventually, because the reality is, it's the same reason people see the same LinkedIn connection request messages all the time. Hey, I see we have 10 friends in common. Let's connect, right? You got that from a template in a course 4 years ago, right? Everyone's seen it a million times. So people, it's the same with bots, is that they're going to start seeing the patterns and the messages and they're going to pick up on it. But I do think, some of these softwares are incredible. I use some myself to help with copywriting. And I think for that, it's going to be good. But I think we're still a long ways away from being able to fool the average user thinking that it's us on the other end. And ethically, I wouldn't want to fool somebody on the other end, because then it's going to make me look really bad if they're like, wait, I thought I was talking to you.
Yes. At some point, that I personally, when I go on to a customer service chat and it immediately gives me the bot that says, hi, my name is Francesca. No, it's not.
Yeah.
No, it's not. And, I'm the sometimes it'll tell you I'm the virtual bot. I like when they tell me up front, but I feel like it's there to gateway me from actually getting to customer service or actually getting to the person I want to talk to, because it says, oh, I've interpreted your question to mean that you should just go back to our website, click this link and read an article. That's not why I contacted you. And I think that's true with business. If you're screening all that chat like it's a person, or reaching out to someone with a bot, it better only be an automated email that first time, and you better have written that email, not use a
it's certainly interesting, and I'm fascinated about the topic. And one thing I will add to that, a little caveat, is if you look at the market in general, and this has always been my pet peeve with LinkedIn users and how people teach it, is that if you look at a market, if you look at the audience awareness levels of any given market at any given time, on average, only 2 to 3% of users are actually in the decision or the consideration phase. And so most people go out on LinkedIn and they're just blasting cold messages out, trying to get that 2 to 3%. And I kind of liken it as like, why do we always chase the 2 to 3% when that's always a volume play, and volume is going to run out eventually. And when you need the assistance of like bots and AI and things like that to have conversation on your behalf, it's because you're taking a volume approach. Where I think instead, if we flipped it on its head and actually focused on the biggest portion of the market, which is the 97%, and we actually educate that part of the market, we bring awareness to them, we let them know that we're a human being, we educate them, we take them from awareness to consideration phase, that's going to allow people to have way more success in the long run, where they're not going to need bots or AI. And when they do need that help, they're going to have the resources then to hire actual real humans, because we're going to get to this point where at the end of the day, it's going to be a breath of fresh air to talk to a human.
Yes.
And so I think the people who stay on the path are going to be the winners in the long run, because that's ultimately where this is all going to lead back to, is somebody wanting to talk to a human.
I agree, because I've already seen that with people during isolation and lockdowns, et cetera, no matter where you are. Everyone was like, this is great. I don't have to talk to people. And within a month, we were all on Zoom networking, and people that in my local town networking group, I suddenly had people from South Africa and Canada and Australia, because they're like, we just need to talk to people. And we're going to network with everybody. So yeah, I think that's going to stay. And I think you're right that that's we were leaning into that already. So one of the things you said was they get overwhelmed with all the information. And I thought that was really interesting because I was going to ask you about the difference in, the etiquette of Facebook. If you're talking to someone in a Facebook community, even if it's a business group, and they go to your profile and then say something about where you live or what you do, that's considered like rude. Like, don't go to my Facebook profile, even if I forgot to take it off of public. Don't go look at who I am, right? Even if it's in a business group. But on LinkedIn, you're putting your entire resume, the last project you worked on, everything you're doing, if you're, really into it. And it's a completely different mindset. It's here's everything I do. So I think that's a positive over trying to do a Facebook community group where you're trying to tell people, no, don't look at my personal profile. I don't want you to see my kids, to LinkedIn, where you can control that and have really your entire resume, your entire portfolio out there if you want to.
Yeah. So what's happening in marketing and the shift. And so in my corporate background, I still consult with the company I used to work with, great relationship with them. And I've been able to see the transformation of like, even how large, this is a global company, how they've transitioned over now, where it used to be companies, if you're using these tools for business, they're just putting out their post. Hey, I want to use social media. I'm going to just throw it out there and everyone's going to come. And those days are long gone.
Oh, yes.
People want a connection now. They want the relationship. That's why video works so well. It's because people can see your face. They can hear your tonality. They can feel like they can catch that one small tidbit that just relates to them. And so there's this connective, element. And then there's these things like, hey, you have kids too. And like on my LinkedIn, we always add a personal sentiment to the end of our profile, our headline, because it starts conversations. It lets people know like he's just a human too. He's a dad just like me. Me and my daughter every Monday we eat ice cream at the ice cream truck, and so people think it's so cute. We create little memories, and so on my LinkedIn, as a little teaser, I put aspiring ice cream influencer. That starts so many conversations, and then you start to get into these stories and then before you know it, you have a connection that would take months normally in a matter of minutes because of the personal element that you bring to social media and to your business and things of that nature. And so when you think of LinkedIn, the reason I love LinkedIn is because, you can't hide on LinkedIn. People can, you can't hide. You can look and actually see who viewed your profile. The only time I can remember that was I think MySpace used to let you see who viewed your profile, but LinkedIn lets you see if somebody viewed your profile. So you can see who's actually checking you out. You get all kinds of data. Is it the right audience that's checking me out? I can reach out to them and start a conversation out. Right there's the conversation starter. So you have all of these different elements. But the reality is, if I'll do two extremes. If you're a student or an individual that's looking to get a job, there's no easier, better way. Like I've always said, if I have to ever get a job again, I'm never applying again. Never. You should not have to apply for a job in 2021 and beyond. The reason being is that you can hop on LinkedIn, look at every single company hiring, and you can skip the line and literally start networking with individuals that work in the company. You can, the hiring manager, you can introduce yourself. But if you have a good LinkedIn presence, and you make it, hey, this is what I'm passionate about. This is my expertise. Look at these results I've gotten from my previous employer or my previous clients or whatever the case may be. That's more than enough information. I was in recruiting, so I can confidently say this, is that you're going to get more information about a candidate from their LinkedIn, seeing their posts, thought leadership, things like that, by far and away than you will a resume that most resumes look the same, to be honest. So that's how students and even professionals can use it if they're looking to get a job, is position yourself as an expert, share your thoughts on things, post some content around things, but really just drive home and network. Showcase that you're a person. Let people know that you're not a high risk to hire them, right? On the other end, if you're a business owner, you need to put yourself out there. You need to let people know that you're an expert. Make your profile stand out and demonstrate and talk around the problems that you actually solve. And in marketing, the shift is that most people talk around about the promise. It's everything is like, hey, this is what I do. This is what I do. But the reality is everybody's familiar with promises and they're burnt by promises. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like, if you shift your mentality and position yourself as an expert and here's the problems that I help people solve. It's like your house is on fire. I'm not going to promise you that your next house isn't going to burn down. I'm going to show up at your doorstep with a fire extinguisher because you have a problem. I can solve that problem. That makes business 100 times easier. And you can do that. And then people don't feel like they're a prospect. They see you as, hey, he's an expert. I'm in the market for a fire extinguisher right now. So I'm going to go to this guy. He has exactly what it is that I need. And so that's the mindset shift, is that most, whether it's a company or an individual or a solopreneur, they're always focusing on their big claims, their big promises, rather than just focusing on, hey, I'm an expert. These are the skills I have. These are the problems that I actually solve. And here's actually how I do it. And here's what it would look like. And if we can take that approach on LinkedIn, you have all these amazing features and sections that you can do that on LinkedIn. You have an about section, you have a featured section, you have a headline that literally can tell people the problems that you solve, which I'll give you my 3 lost puppies analogy in a minute. You have your testimonials, you have everything that literally no other social platform has. And that's why it's so powerful. But people just don't understand that there's so much data out there, and it's a human to human. You have to let people know that you exist. You have to share your insights in your life a little bit. And I think on LinkedIn, that is, Facebook still has that it's social touch and feel to it. So some percentage of that Facebook population still does feel a little invaded if people reach out to them for business inquiries or make an introduction. Whereas on LinkedIn, they know this is where business is done. So they expect it a little bit more. And honestly, what's working really well on LinkedIn is vulnerability and authenticity, showing that you're a human, opening up, things of that nature, because it is that breath of fresh air. So it is a little bit less invasive on LinkedIn. And it's actually kind of a standard that you should do is research somebody before you engage and start a conversation with them.
Yes, I absolutely agree with that. And vulnerability and authenticity are great words for this. And you can curate what people see about your personal life. So if you don't want your kids up there, that's fine. Just show yourself going kayaking with your family. Show them without the kids. It's everyone's different, and everyone has different levels of comfort with privacy. And I think that people don't realize that they can show themselves and show what they do, what they're passionate about, and their expertise without giving away their whole life, because it's not social media. That's important. That's important for people to understand. And very good point about that.
Great tip. Yeah. And I'll add to that a nice little tip here is that I'm not really a content guy myself. I'm always a do what I say, not what I do kind of guy, because I figured out what works for me. And that's what everybody should do, is figure out what they're comfortable with, what works for them. It wasn't until recently I started putting myself out there a little bit more on podcast and speaking and things like that. And it wasn't because I was nervous. It was just because I was building things in the back end, and you help so many people, you forget to kind of take care of yourself. But one thing I really never focused too much on was the content side. And there are people out there, there's people that we work with that content's either not their strong suit. They, have issues with privacy, or they don't want to put things out there. The amazing part with LinkedIn is that one thing everybody can do, and this is what I've done, is you can build your network and your relationship and your thought leadership in 2 unique ways. The first is in comments. So you can find other experts in your area that your audience is already viewing them, and you can leave your thoughts, because everybody's liking posts, but no one's leaving actual thoughts and adding value on top of what the original post was about. And so I do that almost every day on LinkedIn. I leave a lot of very thoughtful comments, and I get a lot of inbound inquiries because that, new connections. And I'm not overriding what the other person said. I'm just adding other value on top of it. So it's very welcomed and appreciated. So that I'm not creating any content. I'm not sharing my photos of my kids, or I'm just leaving comments on content that's already created. So I don't even need a following to do that. I'm literally riding the wave of somebody else's efforts and work in a very ethical way. The second way, and my preferred way, is I believe that conversions happen in conversations. And so I'm a big believer in having as many conversations as humanly possible. And I say conversations, I don't say pitches, because conversations are drastically different than cold pitches. And so for me, it's literally, there's 2 features I love on LinkedIn. It makes having conversations really easy. One is the voice memo, and the second one is a video message. And so I find that most people freeze up because they don't know what to say, because it's very hard to type. It's hard to articulate our thoughts in the way that we want to convey them in a written form and then have the other person receive it in the same way. So I love to send voice memos because it stands out, and I'll just send a very quick one, and it would just say like, "Hey, Liza, so super glad that we can connect. I see that you're in marketing. I'm over in the LinkedIn space. It looks like we have a lot in common. Let me know if I can help you or the type of people that you help, and I can send some referrals your way possibly. Really looking forward to connecting here. Let me know if I can ever do anything to help you." Something as super simple and genuine as that goes a long way, because then they don't feel like they're getting pitched. They hear my tonality and they're like, "Oh, wow, what's this voice memo?" And so curiosity gets them to actually read your message. You capture their attention. And so, and I'd same with video. If I have time, I'll send a video message and just make it personal. And you're always going to have the portion of individuals that don't respond, and that's okay. But you just need to make it genuine. And that's how relationships are built. And that's how sales, then opportunities come. And that's the key for me, is that when I'm talking to these individuals, I don't view anybody as a prospect. Neither should anybody else in a business capacity. I view everybody as, how can I provide value to help them with the skills I have? And how can I get value from them from the skills that they have? Sometimes that results in me, working with them working with me. And then in many cases, it results in, hey, we can't help each other in like a business capacity, but maybe we can in like I can introduce you to this, or let me introduce you to this person, or you can be a referral partner or a joint event, and all these amazing things can happen. But when everyone focuses on going for that 15-minute appointment, they miss out on all these amazing things that can happen because they ruined it by not having the patience.
Yes. That conversation is something that comes up over and over again in my podcast about marketing, because that is really, that's exactly right. The conversion happens in the conversation. It's why you want to have that call, because people are trying to go right to that conversion conversation. Yeah. You can't. It's a step process now. Because of everything we've just said, people are more suspicious. They're getting hit up all the time. And I have gotten amazing clients through people I never thought I would get an amazing client, because they run into someone and say, "Oh my goodness, I know someone who does exactly what you're talking about needing." And they, hook me up on LinkedIn or invite me into a network call. And, that's where that conversion starts to happen, the conversation, because someone's already started it, because they are very sincere about wanting to connect with me, to connect me to other people. And I love making referrals to other people. I have so much fun when I'm like, "I know the 3 people you need to talk to next week. I got the guy to make your cupcakes for your uncle's birthday. I got the guy to do your lawn. And I got this accountant that is amazing." I love being able to do that for people. And that begets more people in my network who then hear about it and call me and talk to me about something. And that's all goes in that goodwill bank that is on the balance sheet with no number.
I like that.
That's important for every business.
So that's I like really that goodwill bank.
Yeah, the goodwill bank. I mean, they'll even teach that in marketing courses, that goodwill goes right on the balance sheet, and you need to have that. It's not just about being, socially aware or environmentally aware. There is just the golden rule for me is treat others as you want to be treated. And I learned that from way too many years in customer service. And I truly believe in that meme that says people in customer service should be allowed to fight one customer a day. So,
that would certainly make marketing interesting.
Not marketing. I wouldn't do it now. But, it's just, you're yelled at all day long for things that you have no control over when you're in customer service. And at one point I just said, I don't want other people to see me just as this voice on the phone that they could do whatever with. And you translate that into a bigger, and I'm totally stream of consciousness here, so stay with me. If you translate that into a larger goodwill idea of, I don't want to have anybody come into my day, and because I'm in a bad mood or mad, their day is worse after they talk to me.
Yeah.
I made that conscious decision long before I was an entrepreneur, and I've continued that as best I can, because what's the point? What's the point of doing that to someone? Human to human is very, very important. And I'm glad you're using that analogy. Now tell me the analogy you were going to say. You remember what it is
Yes.
now?
So I have the 3 Lost Puppies. Is that the one?
Yes, three lost puppies. I've
Yes.
only got 2 lost puppies here, but yes, three
Okay.
lost puppies.
Yes. Okay. So I love this analogy of the 3 lost puppies. And there's 3 things on LinkedIn that are your 3 lost puppies. And if you think about a lost puppy, what do? They follow you everywhere. You cannot escape a lost puppy. They just follow you everywhere. And so there's 3 things on LinkedIn that your audience can go out right now and do in the next 10 minutes. And this is going to position them above probably 90% of LinkedIn users. And so the 3 things that follow you, and these 3 things show up with you, whether you leave comments, whether they're on your profile, whether you appear in the side suggested view option, whether you show up under people viewed your profile. These 3 things are everywhere. Okay. And no other social platform does this, which is what makes LinkedIn so powerful. And the 3 lost puppies are your profile photo. So how can you make a profile photo stand out? Right. And so there's an analogy that I've loved that somebody told me. They said, you have to think in terms of toilet marketing. And I said, what was that? And they said, you have to assume that whoever you're trying to reach is on the toilet scrolling through their phone. And your job is just to capture their attention to get them to stop for that 1 second. So you need to make sure that you have a attention grabbing photo. And with this, it's remove the background, put a ring around it, put a bold contrast color in the back of it, something to break up the monotony of everybody in their suit and ties, the people that were outdated and haven't updated their LinkedIn versus the people that have a photo with a background. And when you shrink it down, it gets distorted. They can't really see you, that you don't look happy, you're not smiling. So my photo, I think, currently has a bright yellow background. So everybody can see it right away. It stands out. That's the main thing. So make sure that you have a good photo. That's going to follow you everywhere. The second thing is your name. So how can you change your name, right? Well, you can, if you have any certifications, you can put that in the end of your name. So for example, I have my MBA. So my name on LinkedIn says Trevor Robinson, MBA. And the reason that that's important is that adds a layer of credibility to you. Whether it's worth anything or not, that's a whole different debate. But it adds that layer of, okay, well, he clearly went through this and achieved this. So people view you in a higher status for that. Or it demonstrates that you're certified if you're in an area that, you need a certification or anything of that nature. So make sure that you have that, because most of the times you'll go on people's profile and you're like, wait, you have your MBA? And it's like, you would have missed that opportunity unless you had it in your name there. So just tag that into the last name. And then the third and the most important, this is the fundamental shift, is that LinkedIn gives you this space, 220 characters as of today, to write a headline. And they literally say that, headline. What they do not say is job title. There is a section in your profile under experience for job title. So it wants you to write a headline. Well, what's a headline? It's your fast take of, if somebody sees you, what do you want them to take away from you? And this is where most individuals on LinkedIn go wrong. I know there were courses 2 years ago. Some people still teach this. Write your I help statement. That way people can recognize it right away. Again, though, everyone's viewing that as, they think I'm a prospect. You're going to be better off if you position yourself as an expert. So we love to say, lead with a keyword, the big thing that you want to be known for. Are you a business coach? Are you an attorney? Are you a, insert whatever you are, the keyword. And then we like to lead with, what's the problem that you help people solve? State the problem. Then you can put any credentials in there. Maybe you're a speaker, you're an author, whatever the case may be. Put a few of those in there. And then I love the personal sentiment. Let people know that you're a human being at the end. And the reason that you want to do this is because then you have the trifecta, all right? You're embracing these 3 lost puppies. You've realized that, I didn't want any puppies, but I'm stuck with them. So I'm going to take care of them. And what's happening now is, when you're going out there, when I'm engaging on those posts of other individuals, people can see in all of that content, Trevor Robinson, MBA, they see my photo and they see exactly what it is that I do. So instead of it reading something like entrepreneur, no one knows what that means. It's going to say exactly what it is that I do. It'll say LinkedIn marketing experts, and then it'll say helping increase visibility online, or whatever I want it to be, or whatever you want it to be. And so this increases drastically because most people aren't taking advantage of this. And at the end of the day, your LinkedIn profile or LinkedIn efforts in general are only focused on getting users to do one thing and one thing only. And that is getting them to click into your profile. And LinkedIn gives you statistics. It literally tells you how many people view your profile in a 90-day period. That number should always be going up. And the reason being is that if you leave thoughtful comments, you want people to say, hey, who is this Trevor guy? What's he about? They go to your LinkedIn profile. That is your new modern day landing page, your sales page. You structure that like a sales page, give them a lead magnet if you want. If you have a coupon or something, you can offer them calls to action. That is your home base. Treat it like it's your website. Tailor it to that audience. So when we start to think about all of these 3 lost puppies, then they're really designed to get people to click on your name, look interesting. When you appear in search results and you have all these people with job titles and outdated photos, you're going to look and stand out. They're going to click in. So that's the golden non-negotiable, you can't lie about the data of how many people are viewing your profile. And so that's why I'm a big fan of the 3 lost puppies, because it's going to allow people to get quick wins, and they're going to stand out above 90% of LinkedIn users, right off the bat if they do that. And that's a myth that people don't understand, that you can actually do that on LinkedIn.
That is really good advice. So I've got the right profile picture because I've got a branded background that's not a plain background. It's not
Perfect.
me on the way to a football game in the front seat of my car, selfie looking up, because people, I keep telling you, I know you think that that's a good picture of you and you like it, but you're wearing your sunglasses and we can't see what you're doing.
Yes.
So it's time to take another picture. But the second part about the title that I hadn't even thought of, I'm going to go add Dog Mom and Star Wars Superfan to mine right now.
Yeah, that's a great one. And you will start more conversations because of that, because people relate to you.
Okay, then I am going to do it because, I don't have the MBA, but, I have certifications and things I can throw in there, and that's good. And then that last part, that headline, I think that's the part we all struggle with, because we try to do the elevator pitch and we have been taught to start with I help fill in the blank. And the therapist will tell you, don't start sentences with I, start sentences with you. Let's think of it, that psychology that way of, this is about you. This is about the person that you're talking to and you're hoping to sell. So tell me, tell not just me, but tell the listeners, you've got a 56-point self-audit checklist for LinkedIn, which is a lot of points. And I'll bet that it's very important points, because you've just said there's a lot you can do on LinkedIn. So tell us about that.
Yes. So I have so we do profile audits for a lot of clients, because the profile is where you make or lose a lot of opportunity on LinkedIn. Up to 70% of opportunities are lost with just a poorly positioned LinkedIn profile. There's features that individuals don't even know exist, or it's like anything else. There are ranking factors, and there's, keyword considerations and all these things that most people just don't even know. So it's not your fault that you don't know these things. We've actually done the heavy lifting for you, though. And so probably a few months ago, we decided, you know what, let's give this away on special occasions. So we have we call it the 56-point perfect profile authority checklist. And what it is, it's a self-guided audit where you will actually be able to go down through each step and rate yourself a score, and then it will calculate and it'll let you know your profile is optimized, it needs worked on, etc. But you'll know exactly the sections that you need to work on. So it kind of categorizes everything, because most people, when they start it, they have a very low ranking, which is natural. And then your goal then is to use this where you can say, I'm going to work on this piece today or this piece. And the goal is, you have everything laid out. You have all the puzzle pieces that you need. Your job is just to get them in the right places and optimize it. So we do have that. That is a free gift. If you go to, we'll probably link it, but you can also go to freegiftfromtrevor.com and you can actually go ahead and download that. And that is very beneficial, because that will allow you not only to appear in more search results, but you'll realize the power and potential, and hopefully it'll get you active a little bit more on LinkedIn then as well.
All right, everybody go to freegiftfromtrevor.com and definitely download that, because everything we've talked about here and more is going to be in there and help you. And we're going to find all those weak points, which is a big thing with me too. I like to go through, audit, and find those weak points. So start with that. And Trevor, how can we get a hold of you if our listeners want your help with LinkedIn?
Yes, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, obviously. You can connect with me at my website. We'll link that below. Or you can find me on Facebook as well. Either one is good for me. But my parting advice would be that, think of it in context that done is better than perfect. When you start to look at LinkedIn, most people freeze up. When you start to do the profile checklist, just get it done. You can always come back, just like the headline, elevator pitch, just get it done. And you can always come back the next day. I update mine probably once a week because you're always thinking of things. So you're not alone if you're struggling, but just put a best effort out there just to get it done, because that will make you more strides than not having anything done. And that applies to anything in business and marketing.
That is very true. Very good advice. And I didn't even have to ask you for your parting thought. Look at that. So yeah, definitely go find Trevor on LinkedIn at Trevor L. Robinson. And of course, all this will be in the show notes as always. And leave some comments and let us know when you listen to this on your podcast platform. Let us know, did you try it? Did it work? Did you change something? What'd you learn? I want to know what we learned here. And I'm going to go try this too and find my weak points, because LinkedIn is something that I use and I recommend, but we can always improve, always, with what other people know. So human to human, thank you, Trevor, for talking with me today.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, and I hope to have you back again, and we'll talk more in the future and see how we did with this when I go back and improve. So thanks so much, and we're going to sign off.
Thank you.
Wow, another fantastic conversation done. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Don't forget that all the links mentioned will be in the show notes at lizacivicmarketing.com. And while you're there, if you're a business owner whose marketing is on life support, check out the Your Virtual Marketing Department offer and take the Marketing Health Report quiz for free. For less than the cost of a full-time hire, we can take your marketing from frustrating to lead generating with an entire marketing team. So check that out, and I'll see you next time.
You've been listening to Marketing Myths and Magic, part of the Xvadio Podcast Network. You can catch us each week at xvadio.com/podcasts, as well as the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Audible, Amazon Music, and wherever you find podcasts.